Yeah, I'm doing good, especially after that introduction. Yeah, it's a great question. And before I step into that question, I just want to put out there to anyone who's listening and watching that if you look at these two fighters coming through the amateur ranks of line fight, paying their dues, and then eventually getting a shot on their first pro fight, and of course live on UFC Fight Pass, it's a dream come true for these two, and and that proves that the who are on the shows, there is a road forward for them and there is a chance to become superstars. You just got to work hard. But back to the question, not being able to hear the corner is it's quite unique in some way because a lot of fighters sometimes will rely on having their corner to tell them and instruct them what to do. I never like to talk about myself, but if I was to mention about myself and my fight career, my trainer used to laugh and say, "Oh, Nathan doesn't even need a trainer; just need a robot with some water and get his mouth guard, put it back in, and send him back out." Of course, I loved having my corner there for love, support. There was a few times when they directed something that was important, but from my own experience, and I guess these two young men who go in there and don't have that ability to hear their corner, they're really going in there and fighting the fight for themselves. They're going in there and doing what's required. That the work's already done. In hindsight, the work is already done. So when we're getting into the fight, we don't want to be looking back to our corner saying, "What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" Of course, it's there for instruction. I'm sure they've worked out a way to communicate with each other if they need to say something or show something or demonstrate something to the fighter to get his attention to look back. Maybe they have some like secret kind of like code that they come up with that other fighters wouldn't know. And sometimes it might even be their advantage because we're not going to hear them yelling out what to do, where the other corner might hear what they're going to do and then counter block that or defend that. So, we've seen on our main event cards as well, like Jake Peacock would call a disability in some way with having one arm. Clearly, no disability with 4-0 with 4 knockouts. So the same going for these two young champions on their way up. And look, it's just going to be exciting to see them step in for their first pro fight online fight. I mean, I'm lucky enough. I do remember my first pro fight because it was actually my first professional fight was my seventh fight in total, and it was an Australian title fight. So it was not only my first pro with the elbow a whole lot. So I do remember that night. It was a big a big obviously adrenaline and nerve and step arena, and then there's a national alliance. Then after I won that fight, all of a sudden I went from an amateur to professional, but now Australian champion straight in one hit. So this is exciting, I think, for the brothers because not only is it their sort of first professional fight, it's their first time live on TV on UFC Fight Pass. So you've got so many, things that are happening from the amateur fights they had, stepping in, getting the opportunity. No one's fought for at least a year uh, because of COVID. So first opportunity, step back in 2021, starting at the top as a professional. They're not fighting 3 rounds anymore, fighting 5 rounds. They're not fighting 3 minutes, 2 minutes. They're fighting 3 minutes, and also they're fighting with no pads. That means they're going to be able to use their elbows, and it's going to change. It really is going to change the game for them. I really hope it works in their favor to turn pro, to use all weapons. It's just going to be one of those nights that the strong survive, as they say.
And
Absolutely. And I think like there is that sort of added pressure to be on TV, to know that the whole world is watching, that you're now a professional, and you really want to obviously make a strong start to your professional career by getting a win. Of course, a KO win would be even more, stapling it. Like, here I am, this is me, I'm coming, this is the future. But that is what makes champions anyway, and I think that's what's the best thing about these opportunities for anyone in that mind that's going to be in that position. Just happens to be the two brothers, and what a great start to 2021 it's going to be for them.
and
Did when I had the opportunity, of course, to watch Washington fight, and we did some backstory, some back interview. He comes also from a different martial arts background, so he's not just a Thai boxer. He has unique movements, and for those who watched that fight back in value, he has his own kind of like unique style and movement. I wouldn't call it a traditional kind of Thai style movement. So he has his own unique movement. As you mentioned earlier, I do believe that the weight is more up for his weight, where he's going to feel the strongest. So going into this fight, I think the fact that Nelson has these, experience in mixed martial arts, in boxing and left way, and all these different kind of modalities of fighting, it's going to be an interesting matchup, because now you've got two guys that have kind of got their own unique styles, and how will that blend? Who's going to have the upper hand? And I feel like it's going to be a matter of like who puts the pain on first in the first early rounds for this fight. That's going to maybe be the prediction for the future of the fight.
it's
Yes, I believe so. And even when I was fighting my professional career, especially as a Westerner fighting in Western country like Australia, of course, you have Western audience. They're expecting a lot more. They're expecting carnage. They're expecting action. They're expecting fast pace. They don't understand the traditions of Thailand. They don't understand that the fighters are betting and they want to get through a few rounds because the gambling doesn't really start till the third, fourth, fifth round. So they don't really understand that. They just want to see fight. They want to see Mike Tyson. They want to see knockouts. They want to see action. They want to see these aggressive fighters going in there and taking it, not really taking too much time. In saying that, of course, if they are a professional Thai fighter, it's up to them. They have the chance to fight. They got 5 rounds. What they do with those 5 rounds is on their cord. So if they want to waste a round or find a round or feel a round out and then step up later on, of course that's all about how they feel. But what I'm seeing more and more and more these days and now is that this is an action sport. So when we talk about action sport, action is aggression, action is knockouts. That's why we love Jake Peacock. I speak about him because he is a crowd pleaser. He is a crowd favorite. He is a lion fight favorite right now. He's been knocking everyone out. His last 3 shows with us, he knocked everyone out. So, that's what we're looking for. As an ex champion, as a collar commentator, as a person who's going to be interviewing these fighters and talking to them, like, we want knockouts, we want action, but of course, not at the risk running in and doing something stupid or crazy. They can also take their time and do what they need to do. Their fight, of course, after all. But people are watching, and people like knockouts. People like aggression. People like, unfortunately, people like blood. So they want to see this fight's not wasting too much time. And Lion Fight, of course, has that great opportunity to host these beautiful young up and coming talented champions, and of course our veterans that we already have on the cards for 2021. Huge difference because Washington Tai, he's quite tall. So for him to be cutting all that weight down to 155, that's a lot of weight for a guy that tall. He's not short. He's a tall guy. So he's going to hold that mass a lot better. Now I think that fight was at least 18 months ago that he had that fight. Might even been almost 2 years since that fight, 18 months at least. So over that time he's probably developed more power, more strength. Of course, we haven't had him on a card, and there hasn't been any the last 12 months for anyone. But I believe he's hungry, and just having that extra weight advantage, and obviously, feeling comfortable with himself, it's probably going to just give him that little bit more of a confidence and edge. On the flip side to that, of course, is his opponent. He's got 20 more pounds on him as well. So people always forget about that. That just because you're now feeling good, well, the guy you're fighting is feeling good too because they're also in that weight class. But I'd like to see him at this weight. I'm happy that he's gone up to this weight, and I think it's going to be an advantage point for him. Just think it's a great opportunity to grow the sport of Muay Thai. Scott Kent always says that this is his passion. This is his love. He was an executive in his past life working. He moved into being a promoter into Lion Fight. He just loves it. He's passionate about it. He wants to give opportunity for these people, young champions, male or female, to have an opportunity to do something with their life, to create a name, to create something that means something to them. So going into these different markets, these different towns, different states, it's just a great opportunity to grow Muay Thai, obviously within the United States, and of course we're going globally as well. And having obviously the UFC Fight Pass gives us that ability that wherever we are, we're global. So I just think it's amazing to be able to go to these smaller states, smaller towns, for now, because it gives the opportunity for talent to be seen, for amateurs to come up. Look! We just spoke about the two young men coming from our amateur pool into now a professional fight. So who's to say that someone on these undercards is going to step in and not be the next Lion Fight world champion over the next 3 to 5 years? So going there just helps the sport grow, gives so many more opportunities for people that would not have that opportunity if it was in Vegas. Who knows? Maybe we'll be back in Vegas in the future. But right now, it's great to be able to go to these smaller towns and just keep the Lion Fight brand growing, and also helping the Muay Thai fighters out there that need the experience.
That was a
Never had that opportunity to fight in high altitude. All the countries I went to was pretty much close to sea level, I guess. But I did have the opportunity to go to Albuquerque to
yeah.
call a fight, to call a fight, and I did notice a difference. I did struggle, and I asked a few of the fighters that were there, how are they dealing with the oxygen? Some of them felt good. I felt a little bit out of breath. I wasn't sure, if it was just because I hadn't been, doing my fitness miles these last few years, but but I did notice a difference. So I think it can be, a little bit difficult, and it could really be an impact on some of these fighters. So I don't know from personal experience, but I hope it's not too much of an impact on the fighters, that when they get into the later rounds, they're just really sucked in for air. But time will tell.
Put all of your information together to become a Lion Fight fighter. But Nathan, from your perspective as a former fighter and is now someone who is our expert color analyst, what's the one thing that you would suggest to a fighter when you're filling out a fighter?
It's not easy. We only have so many fights and so many people we can put on there, and there's obviously a big pool of fighters out there that are desperate for fights and wanting to get on a show. We would love to have everyone, of course, and give everyone opportunity, but it's not quite like that. So I can only circle back to my fight career. Like you don't, just being a talent is not enough. You have to promote yourself. You have to market yourself. You have to. I used to, when I was fighting, I used to sell, like, when I first started, I'd sell a few $1,000s worth of tickets. And then when I was, my best time ever in 2010, I sold $60,000 personally worth of tickets, which was like 13 ringside tables and, like, 100 ringside tickets. It was at a very big stadium. And on an average, I'd sell $40,000 worth of tickets, and I had to still fight, and I had to still do all the media, and I had to still do the TV work, and I was the main event defending my world title, fighting for a world title. So when I say that, I'm not asking everyone to go and do that, but you need to sometimes put in front of yourself that you need to promote yourself. So when you sell tickets, you're selling tickets to people that now believe that they're attached to you, they're connected to you, they know you personally. Even if you sold 20 tickets to one guy that knows you and that sold to 20 of their friends, those 20 friends feel like they're connected to you. So when you do that, you're not like doing a favor for the promoter, which you are. It's about you. It's about creating your own fans that are diehard, that are hardcore, that feel like they know you. And that's the best feeling for a fighter, is to go out there and promote themselves. So obviously with selling tickets and stuff like that, that's not the only thing, but I'm just giving that as an example. And I haven't been coached to say this tonight. I'm just saying from my experience, to be a champion, to be wanted, to be seen, you have to be more than just, one thing, a talented fighter. Learn how to speak, be confident, but, speak well, present well, dress well, promote well, do everything well. Everything you need to do to make yourself the best person you can be inside and outside the ring is what we need, because that's what we're looking for. We want to grow this sport with integrity. We want to grow the sport with people that have honor, integrity, respect. And that's what Thai boxing is, because that's what martial arts is. So for any of those fighters out there that want to make something of themselves and want to get a chance to get a shot, take care of yourself inside and outside the ring. Be diligent. Obviously, work hard, train hard, and your time will come.
Nathan, that's